And there are people who have worked on it. It's not like this is a total vacuum. Far from it. There are books of halacha for Gentiles. There's books of meditation for the nations, Rabbi Ginsburgh. There has been a lot of work done on it. Now let's put it together. Let's put it together. I'm coming at this thing not from a place of looking down at my many, many Christian friends. And by the way, I think of, the book is specifically titled about leaving Christianity, but there's also people who leave Islam or leave Buddhism and are trying to come to an understanding of the one God. This is not, on one hand, it is not an effort to disrespect other people's faith journeys. We have to respect other people's faith journeys. It's intellectually honest. It keeps it open. One of my dearest friends is a Dominican monk. The Turquemada was a Dominican monk, and my good buddy is a Dominican monk, and we laugh about it. And he is a truly God-believing person and a lover of Israel. And I love him and respect him. My good friends, for example, at Hayovel, are Christian-believing folks, and they are my dear friends. I like to joke with them. I'm so close to them, I like to say that I'm grafted in. It's a little joke we have. Okay. But they love it when I say that stuff. But we share so many values. We share a lot of things together. In Rivka's new book, I try to make an offer. The offer that I'm making is towards Christians, also Muslims and others, and it's also towards Judaism and the Jewish state. My offer is that we should be making an offer to the Goyim, said in a positive tone, to the nations, of a Judaism for the nations. And I think that the Torah, and I think that Abraham himself was exactly trying to do that. He was trying to bring an understanding of the faith path of a one true God to the nations. And now that we're back in the land of Israel, and now that Torah is flowing from Jerusalem, and now that the covenant is being shown on the world stage, and now that God is revealing his hand like in the 6-Day War, and we are in the period of the third temple, please God, it'll be soon. And that's what Rivka's saying. This is part of the Geula process. And my saying is, okay, let's make a serious offer. And my argument is that the Noahide system was not a serious offer. It was skeletal. It was what not to do. You cannot offer a Christian person coming out of the church a skeletal system and say to him, basically, I just don't want you to eat flesh from a live animal. Just do not rip a leg off a cow and eat it. It's not cool. And basically it's a set of no's. Some people can argue that there's some positives in there, including courts of justice, establishing courts of justice. But generally speaking, the 7 Noahide laws are a skeleton system of what not to do. It's basic morality, but it's not a life system. It's not a faith system. And so we have a faith system that we could offer people. I think we have a faith system that we could offer people. And a lot of work, including Rivka's, has been, and I say this lovingly, tap dancing around the thing. I say that we need to establish something like Chabad houses for the nations. And what the nations want, and especially the United States of America. Why especially the United States? Because it's a place that's willing to adopt new religions and consider it. For example, Mormonism. Here's a new book. We're also Christians. But in any case, we have a Torah that we could offer the nations. Now, the way that it would be structured, first thing is, the first aspect of it is the branding. I'm a branding guy. I'm concerned with branding. I'm concerned with Israel branding. I'm concerned with God branding. I think that, yes, we have to be, the Jewish people are to some extent the PR agency for God. We need to work to make God look good and to make him popular in this world. And I think that's what Abraham did. He started making God popular in this world. And we have to make God cool again. And that's our job. He's out there being very cool, but we got to make him cool in this lower domain. That's part of bringing him into consciousness. So the first thing is, before we go further, Noahidism probably as a marketing term won't work, because Noah is not the most sympathetic character. He ends on a quasi bad note, his story. Also, the hide part of Noahide, what does that mean? Is Noah hiding? Am I Noah's hide. What does that mean? It's not a. I just don't want to be a Noahide. It's not the sticker that I want to wear. I am a Noahide. I don't see that. And I think there's a much better term, which is so much more basic and also fits East and West, which is Abraham. Abrahamism, Abrahamic. In the essay that I wrote in Rivka's book, I say there's nothing more organic than being Abrahamic. And the church or shul or Beit Knesset that you're going to is called the House of Abraham. Where do you pray? Which church do you go to? Well, I don't go to a church. I worship at the House of Abraham, which is down the street. America can swallow a different religion. If they swallow J witnesses, Scientology, which is just wacky, or Mormonism, they could swallow the House of Abraham coming from the most ancient and authentic people that know something about the Bible. You know, when you go to Texas, people love the Bible, not fakely, not doctrinally in such a way that they want to convert you. They just love the Bible, and they love Israel because their mama read them the Bible, and they're like, I think that the Jewish people coming back to the land of Israel is what was promised by God to Abraham. And I'm not making fun. That is actually the way people think, and that is right. It's simple. It's right. By the way, in Judaism, we laud simple faith, pure faith. Yes, I read the Bible. I think that what God is doing in the Six-Day War and even today is God's hand. By the way, I've been finding a lot of Christian folks, including musicians, who are saying, like, this is God's hand. I see that. And I think that's beautiful. Israel should make an offer of the House of Abraham. There should be a House of Abraham in Dallas, Texas, and there should be one in Idaho, and in North and South Dakota, whatever. The House of Abraham, what would it look like? It would look like a place that you would go to and you would have what Noahidism never gave you, which is worship through a book, a Siddur. You would have fellowship with people who think like you. And it would also be willing to entertain you if you're still holding on to the so-called New Testament, if you're still holding on to Uncle Jay, but you want to explore because they didn't let you explore. In the church, when you started asking questions, they basically threw you out, or you never found satisfaction. Here you're going to find satisfaction. You're going to find satisfaction because this is the most ancient and well-based life faith system in the world. Okay? So the other aspect of it is that you're going to have something. What is one of the secrets of Judaism? And Rabbi Eli basically hinted to it. We Orthodox Jews, we live with a calendar. There's a living God, there's a synagogue, but there's also a calendar. Which Torah portion is it? What are we studying this week? Oh my gosh, the 17th of Tammuz is coming. That's a fast day. And then the 3 weeks all the way to the 9th of Av, that's a big fast day. That's a mourning period. And then there's going to be Elul. That's the time where we prepare for Rosh Hashanah. We live with that consciousness. My wife, forget about it. She's already cooking for Rosh Hashanah. You know what I mean? She's already in that thing. You know, and yeshiva kids are like, Elul is coming. Oh, Elul, that means it's a time for strong Torah learning and preparation for the so-called high holidays. So the calendar would be at the heart of the Abrahamic movement. And the other heart, of course, is Zion, Eretz Yisrael. People like Rivka and Rabbi Eli are going to be teaching you. And Ari and Jeremy with the fellowship, they're going to be teaching it to you from Israel using this thing that we're on right now, which is, hello, the older ones of us can remember what a big deal like just live television was. I still remember being in my parents' bed when I was a kid in Israel and having black and white TV just from Egypt because there was nothing else to watch, okay? Okay, we are now doing a live conference from Jerusalem. Hashem is bringing this technology in the world so that we can teach Torah from Zion. That's what it's there for. It's not there for little cat videos. It's actually there for this. It's there for teaching Torah to the nations. The other side of the offer is for the state of Israel. And this may not be exactly for this forum because you guys who's listening today are spiritual seekers trying to find a life faith, a path. And that's the heart of it, which is individual people finding a path to God and Israel and the Jewish people offering you that without shame, fully, a system for fellowship and ritual, and of course a trip to Israel and Torah through this medium and the like. But I also want to make an offer to the state of Israel. Listen, beloved and much loved state of Israel, we have to have a thing that we offer, right? We have to have an offer to the nations, which is Israel's got something that you can be part of. This will make so many people more connected to Israel if they have an Israel religion. An Israel religion. Now, my first like target is Texas, because when you go to Texas, there's people just flying the Israeli flag. Just because truckers, I've seen trucks with the Texas flag and the Israel flag, okay? Because they feel it inside. They want to be connected to Israel. Now, imagine if they had down the street a house of Abraham that they went to worship, to connect to the both Jewish holidays and even the Israeli holidays, because you better darn believe that the House of Abraham is going to also celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel Independence Day, and Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day. It's going to give you that. It's going to give you that life faith path. You're going to be connected to a calendar. You're going to be connected to Zion. And you're going to probably find more satisfaction, which you have not found in church, because you've got questions. It doesn't quite make sense to you. Why were the commandments dissolved? Why is Saturday on Sunday, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Why do we have this weird tree in our house? That's seems like a little idolatrous on, during the winter months. What's that about? Et cetera, et cetera. Why are we celebrating Saturnalia, which is this, pagan holiday? It goes on and on and on. The point is that you're going to find fulfillment and satisfaction. And the state of Israel, like China, puts out these Confucius centers. Israel should be putting out these centers around the world. I want to give you just one more example, and then I'll stop here. I was through my good friends at Hayovel, I met these wonderful Mennonites. Okay, and they're an offshoot of
Amish.
Amish. Thank you. And so they're an offshoot of that. And I'm like, where do you guys live? They're like, Ohio. I'm like, well, how far from Cleveland? They're like, well, an hour and a half. I'm like, have you ever met with the Jewish community of these are pro-Israel Mennonites, which is itself a revolution. I said, have you ever met with the giant Cleveland Jewish community? They're like, no, they never reach out to us. They never talk to us, not about God, not about anything. So clearly the Cleveland Jewish community, which is very respected, and I have a lot of friends there, and they're an important community, they've never reached out to the Goyim. But as Israel, we want to reach out to the Gentiles and give them Torah. The time has come. So many Gedolim are saying it. And I'm just saying, let's take another step. Let's do something so American. Let's franchise it. Okay? Let's make it into a franchise. Let's make it clear to people. Give them a life, faith direction. Give them a calendar. Tell them to face Jerusalem when they pray. Tell them what Torah portion it is this Saturday. Learn with them the Bible. Wow. And they're going to thank you because you're now being honest and open. And they're going to say to us, God is doing great things with you. And we're going to say back, indeed, God is doing great things with us and with you, our partners as well. Rivka, thanks again so much. My last suggestion before I hope Rabbi Eli takes over, or Rivka, is just to say, when you meet Jews, you got to say to them very clearly, I am a Torah-believing Gentile. Hello, I am not a Christian. I am a Torah-believing Gentile. And there is such a thing. And if they don't know, then they have to learn. Then you're going to have to be their teacher. Okay? There are Torah-believing Gentiles, and you got to just say it. A lot of times here in Israel, I tell people, when you see this, I tell your pro-Israel Europeans that tour with me in Hebron, if the army stops you, just be like, I'm a pro-Israel Gentile. Say it. Because that way the army's like, oh, okay. Sometimes you just have to identify yourself very loudly, very proudly, and people understand. Don't let them beat around the bush, because you are, and I love you, you're weird, okay? You're not like the other people, so just own that. I'm not like the other people, so I have to identify myself so people can start understanding. And when you do that, you actually grow the community, and I really hope that the friendships that you're made here today are going to be life-changing for you, B'ezrat Hashem.
Thank you very much. Elliot, are you still with us? Do you want to jump on? Not sure if he's still here. Let me just say this in terms of where we are in our process. And when I say our process, because we study together and we have a relationship already, but this is all kind of new in the world. Even though I have met Torah-observant non-Jews, whatever that means, who have been actually eating biblically clean longer than I have been eating kosher. This phenomenon is really at its very early stages. And part of my work is, it's two parts. One is I would like for the Jewish community to have a better understanding of people like you. So that, and there have been people who have come up to me and have said, this is all very interesting to me. How do I get involved? And the truth is, I don't have exactly an infrastructure yet to point them to. But there's also people like you who say, what does the Jewish community have to offer? How can I become part of something that's bigger than myself? And I wish that there was, a more definitive answer, but I hope you take comfort from the fact that you and people like you, as well as the Jews that are on this call and the Jews who will listen to the recording of this call, understand that what's going on right now is new for all of us, and we're all trying to figure this out. So I write books and I teach Torah and I do what I can in my world, and you do what you can in your world. And I think part of this unfolding of the Geula process has to be that we're aware that this is a process that we're in the very early stages of. We are trailblazers, and we together have to work to figure this out. All right, we have time for one more question. If there's anybody else with a burning question or comment that you would like to share publicly.
Yes. I'm Ken Lee. Yes. I think that any viable, successful religion has to meet a variety of needs among people, that is spiritual, psychological, and social. So if you look at any successful, thriving religion, they provide people a place to gather every week for communal worship, sense of community. They also provide things like life cycle events. All right. People need a way to celebrate the birth of their children, when they get married, funerals, when they die. Every religion has this. You have to have this. They have rituals and ceremonies that are unique to their own. They shouldn't contradict Torah, of course, but this is something that is part of their life, part of their religious faith. Can have their own music. Tehillim can be set to music all kinds of ways. It doesn't have to be, what we do in shul. So without these things, a religion isn't going to be attractive to people.
Well, Ken, thank you very much. I think that's exactly that. One second, Ken, that's exactly what we're talking about. I think you're right. I think what you just asked was just another depth of drill down into what a life faith system, so-called religion. It's hard for me to say it's a religion because it's a kind of Judaism for the Gentiles. Yes, it's a life faith system, and I agree with you fully. And you've already started pulling out some of the things that need to be thought about, which is, what does a Gentile bat mitzvah look like?
Or a wedding.
Or a wedding.
Or a funeral. Or they're not going to have a bris, obviously, but they can have something to welcome their children.
Well, don't discount. I was just recently at very pro-Bible, pro-Torah Christians, and they had a circumcision, and the rabbis were present there, and the rabbis, they had the way that they said it is, it commanded you, the Jewish people, to circumcise, and offered it to us as well. And the rabbis, the Orthodox rabbis, were willing to have circumcision. They had Torah proofs for Gentiles. They had Torah proofs for that. So okay. Listen, Ken, it's a great and exciting process. I cannot tell you that we have all the stuff totally worked out, but I'm certain that if the Gentiles demand it and the conception of the franchise will start to open up, I am certain that we'll start to knock out what a Abrahamic bat mitzvah, bar mitzvah, circumcision, wedding, funeral looks like. We'll start to knock out. We're going to demand from the rabbis to give us texts that, a lot of rabbis agree on. There's always going to be the disagreement. Welcome to being friends with the Jews, but that demand is exactly what's going to happen. What you're saying is exactly what I was thinking, which is like, this is what's lacking. It's lacking these kind of things.
Yeah.
And there are people who have worked on it. It's not like this is a total vacuum. Far from it. There are books of halacha for Gentiles. There's books of meditation for the nations. Rabbi Ginsburgh. There has been a lot of work done on it. Now let's put it together. Let's put it together.
Hey, this is Jonathan with Tzaddik Media here. Real quick, I wanted to drop in and say, did you notice who he mentioned? Who he just so happened to bring up? It was the wonderful Rav Yitzchak Ginsburgh, who we've had on this channel before. Well, we've put one of his video clips on this channel before. And did you hear what he said? He said that teaching the Torah to the nations is something that Rav Ginsburgh teaches. Now, I want to show you this clip where he himself is giving in a shiur. This idea of the fourth revolution, this idea that it is time to teach the entire world the splendor and the majesty and the wisdom of Torah. Get all of this.
That's why, dafka in the Torah, there is the concept of revolution. Even in English, revolution is from the word to revolve. Revolves over and over, turns over and turns over. Kiyum mitzvot, to observe the commandments, is relatively, it's itkafia. But to learn Torah the way which all learned, especially Hasidus, in the Torah itself is the difference between learning Hasidus and learning Nigla. When you learn Nigla, you learn Shulchan Aruch, so once more you learn what to do. Before Mamash, it's part of my accepting the yoke of heaven. I can't do it if I don't know what to do. But Hasidus is just pure delight. It's just being together with Hashem. That's the essence of the Torah. It's delight in God. And this is all to explain why it appears to be a paradox. In mitzvah, in performance of mitzvah, there are no revolutions. But dafka in the learning of Torah, throughout our history of the Jewish people, to date, there are 4 revolutions. And right now, we're actually in the beginning of the last revolution to bring Mashiach, which we call it the 4th revolution, which in the simple meaning of the 4th revolution is now the time that it's possible, and since it's possible, it's our duty to bring the light of the Torah to the whole world, including especially the chidush to the non-Jewish world. To be or lagoyim, to be light to all the nations. As Rashi says, that light to the nations means bringing the Torah to the nations. And that's, when we succeed in that, and by succeeding in that, we're bringing the torch of the Torah to attract, like a magnet, all of the sparks that are hidden and buried throughout reality in presently non-Jewish bodies, and either they will be aroused. The simple pshat is they'll all be aroused to keep the 7 commandments of Bnei Noach. But the deeper thing is that, as it says in Hasidus, especially quoted before Rabbi Nachman, that until all the potential converts are converted before, Mashiach cannot come. But as there are many letters of the Rebbe himself that he says that in previous generations it was impossible to teach Torah to Goyim. There was one great chosid in Chabad, Reb Zalman Zezmer, the one that was Mekala Rebbe Palach, that in Mesirut Nefesh he was involved in finding potential converts, and he converted them. And it was a death penalty in Russia. Throughout most of the world, most of the Goyish world, it was a death penalty to convert, for Jews to convert to Judaism. But he did it nonetheless. He was sentenced to death, but he passed away before he was executed. In any event, now the path, the world is open. What are the 4 revolutions? The 4 revolutions, it says, are first revolution is to write the oral Torah. It says it was forbidden to write the oral Torah until came Rabbeinu HaKadosh, who compiled the Mishnah, and he said that if we're not going to write it now, it's going to be forgotten. For 2,000 years, it was remembered, and it even grew from generation to generation, only oral, Baal Peh, from mentor to disciple. But now the world has descended, and et la'asot la'Hashem heiferu toratecha. That's the pasuk. Everything we have to learn is some allusion from some verse. So the verse is et la'asot la'Hashem heiferu toratecha. That the time has come to do something for Hashem, which requires denying, as it were, the Torah, going for the sake of the Torah to do something which is forbidden according to the Torah. And it was forbidden to write. The oral Torah was intended to be oral, not to be written. But now the time has come to write it. That's called revolution number 1. And so what we're now explaining is why these revolutions take place in the Torah. Because of the Torah, it says, Hafoch B'Lavot. There's something about the Torah that it metamorphosizes, it transforms in itself. It turns over, it revolves. In mitzvot, no. The second revolution, the Rambam, if we learn the Rambam Hilchos Talmud Torah, he makes a very tremendously strong case for how forbidden it is to receive a stipend to study Torah. I mean, the greatest chilul Hashem, desecration of Hashem's name, is to open up a kollel. The Torah scholars should receive money from the community to study Torah and not go out and work and make a living. That's the way it always was done in the past. He calls that the greatest desecration of Hashem's name. That using the Torah for parnaso, to make a living. He's fanatic about it, Maimonides. So what happened? Came a time that the Beis Yosef, who composed the Shulchan Aruch, he said, for the very same reason, he said that if we won't give young men a parnaso to learn Torah, in our generation, just the Torah will become forgotten. So once more, et la'asot la'Hashem, heiferu toratecha, and that's why it now became permissible. There's still, throughout the generations, even to the present time, there were great tzaddikim that had parnaso, and they did not take anything from the community. They did not take stock for learning Torah. But nonetheless, the majority need the support of the community, otherwise they would be unable to learn Torah. And we're not so good as those in previous generations that were able to work a half a day and learn the rest of the day and become great sages. We're not at that level. Alavai, we should know a little bit if we learn all day long. Right, so this is called revolution number 2. This is the historical order of the revolutions. Revolution number 3 is teaching Torah to women. This is a relatively recent revolution. It's just 150 years old. That it says actually in the Shulchan Aruch that not to teach, to teach to women just those laws that they need to know, but not to have institutions, educational institutions, guru schools, and to teach deep things. It's not for women. Not the way. That's not their nature. They weren't created for that. Came the Chofetz Chaim and other great sages over a little bit over 100 years ago, and said that what happened in Europe, that the girls were not going to. They had no educational Jewish educational institutions. So what did they do? They went to universities. And the girls went off the path more than the boys. If the girl goes off, then there's no chance for the boys to remain. That's one simple reason phenomenon. But the Rebbe says that at a much deeper level, part of the progress of just like there's a descent of generations, there's also an ascent and progress of generations, and that ascendant generation is that the feminine figure is rising to ultimately, in the time of the Mashiach, to be absolutely equal to the male stature. That once the stature of the male was, the head was above the stature of the female. And now this is explained in Kabbalah, that towards Mashiach, the female stature grows until her head becomes equal to that of the male. And ultimately, after Mashiach will come, she'll continue to grow until she becomes more than the male. But now we're still reaching that equality level. And that expresses itself in the absolute necessity for her to study Torah in depth. All women. All the time throughout history there were exceptions to the rule. There were great tzaddikot, tzidkaniot, women that studied Torah. There was Devorah, there were 7 prophetesses in the Jewish people. 48 prophets and 7 women. So there were always exceptions. But to make it the standard rule for all women to strive to study and to understand the depth of Torah, especially Hasidus, as the Rebbe said, he even says that al pi pshat they have to know Hasidus, just like men. As Hasidus is necessary in order to perform the 6 duties of the heart, which are commandments in the Torah, to love Hashem, to fear Hashem. And we can't, in our generation especially, we can't come to love Hashem without the deep understanding of Hasidus. And this is applicable to women exactly as to men. Right, so this is called Revelation number 3. That now everybody knows that there are schools for girls, just like there are schools for boys. The same thing. In Torah, and in depth in Torah. And even things that girls would never learn before, like Gemara. So it's okay. Everything is okay now. Even Kabbalah. Tell a personal story that years ago, one of our Makorovim, a very, very talented Baal Tshuva, studied Kabbalah, Eitz Chaim, the classic text of the Arizal, and his wife, who was just newly married, his wife also says, I also want to study Eitz Chaim. Why should only you study Eitz Chaim and not me? So he said, no, Eitz Chaim that's not for women. It's only for men, Eitz Chaim. So she didn't accept the answer. And she wrote to the Rebbe, what about women? Women can't study Eitz Chaim. So the Rebbe answered her that a woman, if she wants, if she has that inclination and desire, she can study Eitz Chaim just like anyone else. But in the girls' school, even in a boys' yeshiva, they also don't study Eitz Chaim in a boys' yeshiva. In the girls' school also, we don't make it part of the curriculum. The curriculum, what is part of the curriculum is Hasidus. And Eitz Chaim is extra. And if you want it, so it's 100% okay. So a girl can study Eitz Chaim if she wants, she can study Gemara if she wants. This is called revolution number 3. Revolution number 4 is what we just said in the beginning, that's now bringing the Torah to the whole world, even to the non-Jewish world, and not in addition to preparing the world for everyone 100% to believe in one God and to keep the 7 mitzvot of B'nai Noach, is especially bringing such great light to everyone that light is like a torch, that it attracts, and we don't proselyte like missionaries, but we shine such a great torch that torch attracts the sparks like a magnet itself. And we're open. In the past generations, there was also, you're not supposed to immediately accept the convert. There comes a convert. You have to see if he's sincere or not. But there is a tendency, even still, this is a revelation that's just beginning. That's why there's still a tendency to back off and be wary, not want to Like here we are in a Beis Chabad. Does the Beis Chabad, does it have open classes for Goyim? I doubt it. Most Beis Chabad and most rabbis in general don't. It's not in the consciousness yet. That's why we call it, this is a revolution, it's just beginning to take place. That the Torah has to be, once more, the torch has to shine to all of humanity and has to attract those potential sparks, and that's part of the process of bringing Mashiach. Without that, it can't happen. Right, so the word that we added now tonight is that the Hafochba, the very concept of revolution is something which is intrinsic to the Torah.